So my name is Sharice, and I worked at AdLink for a 3-month placement through the Create to Change programme at Goodwin. And basically they helped me get the 3-month placement. But obviously I didn't know about the Create to Change programme to start with. It was by chance through ArtLink how I found out about the Create to Change programme. So once I'd done the 2-week introduction with Create to Change, I then went for through the normal process of the interview, the application and the interview, and I started a week later basically at ArtLink. So originally I'd known about ArtLink through being at uni, but I'd never actually been to ArtLink, which seems really strange, being into art and having interests within art, but I think it's the distance it is from the city centre. You don't always initially go to it, so it was just on the off chance I'd been to ArtLink, but I was working through the Freedom Festival in the City of Culture, and Gemma, who works here, spotted me, and she used to teach me at college, so obviously we instantly knew each other, and she said about coming to volunteer at ArtLink to get myself as an arts worker, which, being an arts worker, obviously you get regular workshops and get paid for doing things, so you basically become a freelance artist in your own right, basically. So I did that, and then she introduced me to Create to Change, because she obviously had links with Create to Change and the people at Goodwin. So once I'd gone through that, she sent me through there, and then I came back through here. So I'd gone from ArtLink to Goodwin, from Goodwin back to ArtLink. So it was a bit of not really saying that I already had the in as the link in, but I had an easy way to be shown it. And so they got me in, I think it was on the last cohort they do, and I basically did it all from there, just knowing someone who knows someone, which helped. I think it depends on your mentality, because if you're quite an introvert, you're not going to go out for it, but if you know someone and you're an introvert, you're going to you're in that scene already. But a lot of people, it does help knowing people, realistically, it does help knowing. Sometimes it's more with who you know instead of what you know. But it really does help knowing someone in it, because they can help you and it's Gemma's been a great help, because she's been able to teach me how to do things like workshops and even just meeting new people. She's really helped me just grow, basically, and obviously I've known her since I was in college, so I've known her since I was 16, basically, and it does just help a lot to know someone. But I do think if you're really persistent and you regularly go to the events where everyone is within the arts, if you regularly visit things, which not everyone can do realistically, you can get in there, but I think it sometimes can take a lot if you don't know someone. Well, I graduated within the City of Culture, so that was a big thing as well. So immediately after I finished uni, I didn't really do a lot as a first leave, because basically you don't think, but other years that I've left before, they say you get into a little rut after you finish uni, and you think, oh, I'm not going to get into that, but you really do. You get really down after you finish uni, thinking, because they don't always help you to get into the next step. You have a degree and that's it, you're out in the real world. But after I came out of this little rut, I started with Freedom Festival within the City of Culture, and of course with being the City of Culture, it was massive. Freedom Festival really boomed that year, and that's obviously when I saw Gemma, but then I was volunteering a little bit with Gemma, not so much loads, I did it probably 4 times, but with different activities that was happening in the City of Culture and different art installations specifically. I got involved with some of them, the Hull for Hall, that was the Hall for Hull, was in Trinity Square, and basically all we was doing was painting these steel columns, and that was with an artist out of the UK, basically. He came in, they must have did a proposal, and there's a few of us that got asked to do it, and it was by chance I had a friend who was asked to do it, and she asked me to do it as well because I needed 3 people. And that was a big step because then I was obviously invited to different City of Culture events that was going on, and obviously you get to know more things about what's happening in the art sector, and obviously you meet new people as well, so you get in the link of different things, which really does help if you, like I said, if you go to things and you meet people within arts or the art sector, it does help then create something next. Like next on Saturday I've got an exhibition, I'm just doing like a 1-day exhibition with 5 other women, but that's just from knowing people and on the off chance asking about it it was basically on Facebook. She asked, oh, does anyone else I need 1 person. And I just put my name forward, and she's like, yes, so hopefully that'll be a next step for something else. So most of the time, every time I see something, to me it's another step somewhere else. Instead of, oh, I haven't got anything but this one thing, it's a next step instead of a one thing, basically. So City of Culture has really helped because I don't think the arts would have really stayed as big as it is. Because like people were scared to go into museums or art galleries specifically, because like when you're in the art you go into art galleries, but if you're an outsider who's not in the arts, you get scared to go in, which I know that from family experience. My sisters, they would never go into an art gallery because they don't think they can, because they're not in arts. But yeah, City of Culture's pushed people to do that, which was really good. Yeah, definitely, because especially like my parents, basically I'm the only really art one in my family, and me being in the arts has basically got them to go to art events as well, which I don't think they would have really done if I wasn't. So if I was never in the arts, I would never have gone. So it does, I know, again, it's like knowing someone within it. If you know someone, you're going to go to it. So it does help. And I think they'd all go into an art place, shall I say, now. It's like the first time they came here is when I started working here, and they'd never been here before, which it's really weird, really, when you think of it. It's crazy that only people go into places when they know someone's in there, or they know someone who knows someone. I think with City of Culture has helped the arts grow, and I think if we didn't have the City of Culture, I don't think the art I'd have probably got a degree and then most likely have gone somewhere else. Because originally I was going to go to Leeds anyway, but then obviously I took a year out between college and uni, and then so obviously not having a foundation course as well, I never did a foundation course to get onto the degree, and it was just on the off chance I applied for the degree. So I stayed here to do it, but originally I was always going to move anywhere. But once I stayed here, and then once I found out I was graduating within the City of Culture, I think that made me want to stay as well. Because obviously I knew then with the City of Culture coming, art's going to soar really. So it did help, it did make me want to stay as well as that if I stayed just because I live here. Yeah, I think now I've done it, I've established myself here with knowing the art scenes here. I feel confident now to go somewhere and do it, because if I'd have done it straight after leaving college, I probably wouldn't have done it straight after leaving college because I'd have been too scared really and not known a lot. So definitely the City of Culture has helped me get into new things and learn new things about like when I did here, I came and did admin here, and I never thought I'd have done that, and that's just through my pathway of getting to here, which obviously evidently came from City of Culture really. I think I could probably stay here and keep going with the art here, because yes, it's slowed down a little bit after City of Culture, but it's still definitely there. There's still loads of things popping up about City of Culture, like recently the Big Vista was on and ArtLink was there, so they asked me to do a workshop with them. So that was like my main first big thing I've done on my own. But yeah, I think stuff like that, if that's still going on, I'll still stay. As long as it's going on, I'll stay most likely. Yeah, I believe it's still there, and it's still, people are still wanting arts, especially art in such like creating things people from last year when it was City of Culture, people got the taste of it, so I liked it, so it's still there, so hopefully it'll stay there and it'll make me want to stay here. No, because there was 2 jobs I was going to go for, because originally I was just going to go for AtLink, but when I got to Goodwin, basically there's another job that actually caught me out, which was a youth worker, which I would still be creating art, and doing stuff with being creative, but it was different. But I think I would like to go into things that was still kind of creative and creating things. Maybe not so much stuff I usually do at home, say like my own artwork, but even creating things like gardening or something. I still see that as creating something. And say if I was to do that as a youth worker, working with kids or with adults, but I would definitely go into other things, but it doesn't necessarily have to be an art background to do it. It's like before I did the Creative Exchange and before I worked at AtLink for 3 months, I would never have been able to get into a job that had any admin or any computer skills, because yes, I had computer skills, but I'd never known any of the admin side or like the social media side. But now I can go into something with them skills, and even if it's nothing to do with that, I know I've still got them skills, but originally from having an art background. So that's helped me from the Creative Exchange. They've given me that basically.
If City of Culture didn't exist, and hypothetically speaking, where would you see yourself now?
I think I was always going to wanted to take a year out between after uni. So I was always going to take a year out. I always said I wanted to try and find something with art still. So I give myself a year to do that, and then if I couldn't find anything like permanent, I would definitely go back and do my MA, and I'd probably have moved to do the MA as well, so then I'd definitely be in a different city. So
in Leeds, possibly?
Most likely it would have been Leeds, yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it? It potentially has ended up going down a completely different path to what you probably ever imagined.
It's definitely kept me within the city.
Yeah.
Just from having the City of Culture. Because obviously my boyfriend, with his job, he's already in Leeds, he works in Leeds now, so we would have definitely moved straight away, because he's from out of Hull, so he never knew Hull anyway. So as soon as I had the degree, we was going to move. But of course City of Culture came along and gave me all the opportunities I've had. So it means I stayed and he just travels.
Yeah, so my name's Lloyd Dobbs. I'm the Youth Employment Initiative Manager at Goodwin Development Trust in Hull. Cool. Goodwin was set up we think 1994, we're not actually sure. And it's set up on the Great Thornton Estate in Hull, which is like an inner city council estate, which is quite rare for Hull really. The council estates are usually on the outside of Hull, but we're right near the city centre. And in that there was a lot of social issues around high unemployment, low skills, drug and alcohol issues. The red light district was actually in the area at that time. And a group of residents was like, this isn't on this. The council felt weren't doing enough. And they set up Goodwin. So essentially it was a little job shop on the Walker Street in the centre of the estate. And it was just there to try and help people at that point. And fast forward now, so 2018, it's community development organisation, social enterprise, housing association that employs 200 people, and the idea is the mission statement, if you will, is to improve the quality of life of people within Hull's communities, and importantly on the Thornton Estate. So that's what we do now. We do youth employment initiative. We have children's centres that we run for the council, a youth project. We have services for people with severe disabilities. We work with former servicemen and women and their families, and the newest one is that we're a housing association on this estate as well. We also have lots of art initiatives as well, which sort of are embedded within all those programmes, really, if you will. And the big one is the Creative People and Places programme, or the Back to Hours programme that we currently run. So City of Culture, when it landed, I guess, into 2013, there was a buzz in the city. All of a sudden there was these artists turning up from all over, and then it empowered all the local artists. Everyone was excited basically. By the time we came to 2017, when it was actually up and running, Goodwin, especially the youth programmes that I'm involved with, we really did benefit from it, and not necessarily for direct funding from City and Culture. I mean, Goodwin did receive certain things around community initiatives around City and Culture. How we benefited was that people were knocking on our door all the time. Artists, we've come in and we've got this idea, we're going to be here for 6 months, and we're going to work. We want to work with young people to do a spoken word programme, or we want to get young people involved in this mini festival that's going on with City Culture. So people wanted to engage with voluntary sector organisations, and Goodwin being Goodwin and size it is, which is fairly big for a community development organisation, they'd Google it, and they'd come straight to us, or they'd be sent to us by people like Hull Truck or Artlink or the City Council. So we had people knocking at the door every week. We want to work with this. And when you're working in the voluntary sector, and especially on things like the Youth Employment Initiative, and I guess with austerity in the last since 2010, our budgets are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. We've got to pay staff, and we get a little bit for activity. So if someone comes and goes, I've got this free thing for you to do where young people are going to benefit from it, help be involved in it, and in some cases co-design it, it's a win-win. So they'd be involved in a local little magazine we did. We got involved with the block party, which was funded through City Culture, and people coming to knock on our door to engage with. And they were getting to do all this, in some cases, art, music, what you'd call traditional cultural and creative activities, but then there's all these transferable skills about organising, planning, and we're getting it free. So that's one of the reasons we benefited from it. Another reason would be even if they didn't come and knock at the door and want us to get involved, there's all that stuff going on, and for the most part it was free. So one day a week on our programmes we'd go, right, we're not doing employability skills, we're not doing this seed, we're going to go to the museums, or we're going to go to this event, and we're just there all year round. So it was good, really, getting involved in it and actively involved in it and being approached, and then just going and taking young people who wouldn't engage with that sort of activity just as punters, really, if you will. So yeah, it was good.
Have you seen the kind of long-lasting legacy or potential legacy that has initiated, that's kind of started?
Yeah, I mean, I think only time will tell, but there's been the Back to Hours initiative that's been still doing great stuff, do you know what I mean? And this Absolute Culture have just done a couple of events recently, and they're as top end as what we saw last year. How long that'll last, I don't know. I think bands, musicians, artists are still, some of them have got a bit of a sour taste in their mouth, really, because they maybe felt like they was left out, but some are still going, well, it was already happening before. It's happened last year, the City of Culture, as in we've already been doing art and doing things the year before. We've got this little bit of an extra little nudge from the City of Culture. Let's carry on and carry on and doing some really great stuff. In the short term, yeah, we'll see what happens next year and the year after.
What do you think will help allow those the sustainability of those arts and cultural activities?
Well, people need to put more Arts Council bids in. There's hardly any that going in, according to the spreadsheet I've seen, do you know? So we need to be acting on community groups, art groups need to be continue to try and tapping into the funding. I mean, it's alright saying, we didn't get anything, but when you look at how many Arts Council bids go in from Hull compared to other places, it's low. So we've got to do the work ourselves. And I guess that, coupled with things like Absolutely Cultured, the new City Culture, and Back to Hours doing their bid, that should be fair to our grants to carry on. But so, I mean, it's an element of responsibility on the creative and cultural scene that existed in Hull before anyway. I think we can't just expect it to go into the end. But both, see what I mean?
Yeah, do you think that is a kind of just a confidence thing? So people wouldn't necessarily, before City of Culture, applied for funding, whereas now they're thinking, well, actually, we're in a better place to be able to pitch.
I think you're right. I think people used to do the bids, and they used to put, before the City Culture, and did all that stuff. Of course they did, but I think because of City Culture and what's happening this year as well, I think more people will think, well, actually, that group did it. City Culture we can put that on, but we've got the confidence to do it. And I think that's true not just of arts organisations as well, because I've known people who run bars and musicians who indirectly benefit from city culture, like bars who wanted to or would never do any arts or music events, and all of a sudden, well, wait a minute, I've got the confidence, let's try it, let's see what happens. And musicians certainly trying to, well, let's put this a little event on, and I think that's it's not just financial support, it's actually the confidence they've gained from what they've seen other people do. Well, let's take a risk. So yeah, I've just meandered on a little bit.
No, that's brilliant. And just one last thing. Do you think there's, going forward, do you think there's an audience or an increasing audience who wish to participate with cultural events within Hull?
I feel, it's hard to say, because people from Hull in 2017, more people than ever went and got involved in stuff. Whether it's they went out, I've seen that in the paper, let's go look at that event that was going on with Blade in the city centre or whatever. So that was proven. Whether they are now is a different thing, and I think if there was some research into it, it'd be like what's it like in comparison of people from Hull engaging with these activities. The recent one, which was the Domino's one just recently, it looked like the city centre was rammed like it was city culture, like in 2017. So based on what I saw, yeah, but I couldn't tell you if it was actually if it was consistent throughout the year. I think community groups and organisations who work with people who are properly marginalised and on the fringes of society, especially young people we work with, because of organisations like Goodwin or the Warren or Artlink, we are encouraging them to go as an organisation, and that might that obviously helps. But yeah, I don't know. It feels like yes, they have done this year with the events, and if organisations continue to encourage that, it could be continued in the future years. But I guess only time will tell.
Can I ask you one last thing?
Yeah, come on.
How do you think communities like this benefit from cultural events such as Hull, or such as the things that you do?
So the City of Culture stuff, what's gone on in the block party was City Culture funded directly, which Goodwin put on. There was a place, Australia Houses, it's the other side of the estate. It kind of reminds me of a four-rise council build flats within Camden. It doesn't look like anywhere else in Hull, it's just on the other side. And there's about 30 languages spoken there. And they have this space in the middle. It's almost like a natural amphitheatre. Sharon Darley, who works for Goodwin, she was the brainchild of it, she sorted it out. And what happened there was we got this little, in comparison to the big events, it was like 10 grand or something. We put on a little mini festival there, and what we saw there, it was only for a day and a half or something, and we had them all in there going for it. And this estate, we'd done community development work on this estate for years, and this particular place, one really, the Polish kept the Polish, the Somalis kept the Somalis, and it was, even just for that day, that was great. That brought people together. And if we get it shows what you can do with little money. And we had the people in the Australia Houses who were involved in design and the initial planning, the more like active community members, and it was brilliant. If we get a little bit of that going, on a small amount of money really, we're going to win. The people are going to benefit from it. And dare I say it, in a couple of years' time, they'll do their own living block party, do you know?
We're Davey and Christine Maguire, the Maguires, and we are artists based in Hull that do multimedia installation-y stuff.
That's pretty good.
I think our first visit to Hull was through being invited to be involved in a project called Land of Green Ginger. So that was our first point of call with ever coming to Hull. And the project, our part of the project was to as a sort of outreach project that was to do with bringing art out from not just being in the city, but to taking it to other areas that would usually not get to see much art, or would have to travel into the city to see it. And so that was our first visit to Hull. So from that we made a piece called Micropolis, which was like a giant city made of cardboard boxes, enormous city in a pumping station filled with little sort of, I guess, borrower characters that lived in those cardboard boxes. and they were holograms and holographic and video projections running around. Quite intricate cities, architecture. Was that good? That was a start.
Yeah, no, that's good.
But that was a start. But then also, so when we came to Hull, I think that project was received really well. I think 15,000 people went to see it. And the people in Hull are bloody nice, mate, I think. And they're really welcoming about art. That's what it seems to be, in the sense that, like, we getting in a taxi and you say you're an artist. People are genuinely interested in what you're doing, what you're making. And from Bristol, where we came from, I think you get in a taxi and say you're an artist, and people are just like, oh, another one. You know what I mean? So, and so there is that, and we were offered a really nice cap. We were offered we realised that the rents were very cheap here. We had a lot of support in terms of the people that worked on City of Culture. There were a lot of friends we met here. There were a lot of producers and people that really supported us coming here and welcomed us to the city. And that was lovely.
We were in a tricky situation in Bristol in the sense that it's sort of peaking right now. It's the typical gentrification going on, where the area where our studio used to be quite cheap is now coming up, and our studio was getting more and more expensive. And just by the time we left, the landlord was applying for planning permission to turn it into flats, our studio. So a lot of us had to leave, and it coincided with getting an offer from, I think it was Goodwin, Louise Yates, saying, you know, we've got this studio space here, you can have it if you want. So that sort of broke the deal. But also we kept thinking about where to go next after Bristol, and we considered all these hip places, you know, Berlin and Lisbon and Barcelona. And then we thought, you know what, actually, to make work, to have a good studio, to have support, which we had through City of Culture, and the whole production team on Micropolis, all the volunteers, it felt like there were people here who knew us, who would be happy for us to come here. And it completely paid off, because now that we're paying less rent here for our studio, for home, our overheads, so much, we can take risks in a way that we couldn't do in Bristol or anywhere if we would have moved somewhere much more expensive. Because it just allows you this little bit of freedom of being able to do something new, to take a risk with something that might not work or might work. And it turned out that it worked really well. We created a whole new body of work as soon as we got here. Sold it in London. Some of the work's now going to New York, Beverly Hills, Miami. And it's selling really well. So yeah, it just on so many levels it paid off.
Also, I think it was an exciting time to come to Hull after City of Culture, and there's so many things developing here, and so many people there's doing interesting things, I think, like with the Back to Ours stuff. Also, like, that was just cool. This, like, Louise, when we first came here, she was putting on Black Grape in the shopping centre in is it North Brandon, sorry, yeah, I can always get them. But like, I just think that's cool, man. It's like, it's cool to do these sort of unexpected things, and I feel like there's unexpected things that happen in Hull and continue to happen. Yeah.
It feels, actually, when you look under the surface, it's a really creative place. That feels like, that's what it feels like now. I don't know what it felt like a few years ago. I remember the first time we came here, we looked at what we could do, and there was literally nothing on.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know if that was because there was nothing on, or we didn't know about it.
I think it was as well. Yeah, I think it was. We didn't.
Or mixed thereof.
You have to tap in a little bit sometimes with the things that are going on.
Yeah, but when you do tap in, it's actually really exciting. Like, there's something on every weekend, you know. And we just went to Australia for a business trip, And we missed the sesh, and we missed
The dominoes. We missed
the
big
dominoes.
thing.
There was always, I kept looking on
Yeah.
Facebook, all these cool things were happening while we were stuck in Fremantle on the beach.
in a very
Yeah.
on the beach and in a really black dark studio.
Yeah,
Well, all this
yeah.
cool stuff's happening. Yeah,
No, not
No.
at all. I actually,
come on.
in terms of traveling, for example, going to London is actually really, really easy.
Yeah.
You know, it's a 2.5-hour train journey, fairly cheap, directly into London. From Bristol, that would have been more expensive in pretty much the same amount of time.
And also the way that the way that the world is, I think it's you don't have to be in a place where your work's on, and it's better not to be because that place is probably going to be really expensive.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, in terms of no, I don't think it's restricted at all. Actually, for us, but I don't know how that would be for someone just starting out from Hull because we kind of have a network of things. We were kind of reasonably established before we came, so
Yeah.
that's
But also a lot of our projects. I mean, actually, we now have we're likely going to have a commission from Hull, which has never happened in Bristol, for example. So we do get work from here, but a lot of our work, if I look at next year, is actually going to be all over the world again. So we do get out anyway. So it would never feel like we're stuck here anyway. But no, Hull doesn't feel restrictive at
Yeah,
all. If
I-
anything, it's the opposite.
and it feels like things are opening up. I guess again, I wasn't here. I'm not from Hull, but like even the Bankside Gallery and these sort of flourishes of creativity around the city. It doesn't. Yeah, ground.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel restrictive as such. I don't know why it would.
No.
Really.
Quite the opposite, actually. It feels like there's stuff happening. I think you need to make an effort to tap into it. You know, let's say with Ground, it's really nice to just go in there, see what they are doing. With CAG, you know, you make friends with people, you collaborate on something, you put your work up. I think you still have to make an effort to get into a community, but the community itself seems really welcoming. It's not the type of community that goes like, oh, there's artists from outside to just keep away. No, it's actually the opposite.
Yeah. I think I mean, I always dream about moving to like New York or something, but actually it's kind of boring. Yeah. I don't know.
We are
the
buying
future-
a house here
We're
right
buying a
now,
house,
so
yeah.
that shows some form of commitment. But I think we've always we've never made plans
To do
far
anything else.
beyond a few years, actually. So we'll see where things take us. But
I'm
I'd happily stay here.
Yeah.
You know, for a few years, 10 years. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I mean, at the moment we're just very happy here.
Yeah. Periplum came up recently. They're based in Brighton. And they are having an eye on things. And again, you know, people from Absolutely Cultured would be keen to have them here. So they try to help them to find a place here. But yeah, and we keep saying to people, relocate to Hull,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah,
I mean, you've
yeah.
got all the freedom here
Yeah.
with so little overheads. It's the perfect place to be an artist. There's so much space, you know. So we are ambassadors for Hull a little bit. But yeah, I think maybe Periplum, maybe a few other people.
Yeah.
We'll see. It'd be great.
I think it will. Yeah, I
think
think
it
more
will.
people will. What in terms of subject matter?
Yeah.
I don't go on.
Well, we completely rebranded ourselves when we got here. New website, new logo, and the body of work we made, which, to be
Yeah.
honest, we started in Bristol, but we fully made it all here, is completely new. Like, we had a reputation for sort of fairy tale in paper, whereas now we're doing a lot of film noir, dogwood, sort of high-end gallery stuff. So
And toast.
And toast!
Stuff out of toast. Yeah. So, but I don't. In terms of I don't think our art's saying anything about Hull, is it?
No.
Or is particularly influenced by the culture in that sense. But just the having the freedom to have the time to do those things.
I disagree.
Okay.
Well, just the other day we went down Bankside, and all the sort of industrial urban
that's true.
decay, the factories. There's something visually really stimulating about that, and that has definitely influenced our work.
That's true.
Or we are drawn to that in some ways.
That's
That
true.
sort of aesthetic. So, and the whole sort of, I don't know, the dark underground gothic. Hull has a little bit of that.
You're right. And also just the social interaction of some of our work as well, like the little people and stuff. Yeah, actually, a lot of it has come from what we've done here, and the work going forward has come from the responses from people who live in Hull and have liked it. I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you're right. I was wrong. Yeah.
And also, we now have requests for touring Micropolis. We're just working on a request from Hong Kong, and they are asking whether they could have the content that we created here, which is the actual structure and all the video contents, all the little people from Hull, which is a lot of volunteers. And they're asking whether they can include a community from Hong Kong, so whether we could go over film people there. So the dream with Micropolis is always, if we tour it across the world, to always film people and maybe one day bring it back to Hull, and you have a truly international city. Or that originated in Hull, where the pioneers of that little city are from Hull. That'd be lovely.
A cosmopolis.
A cosmopolitan
micropolis.
Microcosmopolis.
Microcosmopolis. Yeah, or just something else. Maybe a better name.
No, that's brilliant. Thank you very much, Aziz.
I'm Paul Collinson. I've lived in Hull most of my life, and I've been a practicing artist for a number of years now, after graduating from the Hull School of Art and Design when it was a polytechnic back in the early 90s.
So I'm Dom Heffert. I've been in Hull for 18 years. Came here to study on the fine art course initially, and sort of dropped anchor and been a professional artist in Hull since. Well, Feral has come about through a massive gaping chasm in the art psychology of the city that's been created due to the fact that the fine art degree course, as we know it, which has been established at the Hull School of Art for over 100 years, had a specific painting school built for it down Allaby Road, which had a beautiful mosaic. It's still standing there, but it's now Northern Theatre Arts. But had a beautiful mosaic on the near the roof, which was entitled "The Triumph of Art Over Ignorance," which is a beautifully ironic gesture when you look at it now. But so, Feral's really responding to what's perceived as a need, a lack in the city of any sort of art education being delivered by practicing artists outside of the grips of corporate structures. And that's kind of the ethos of it, is that we'll provide good quality, affordable art education. We're still in our very fledgling state, obviously, but within the next few years, there's no reason at all. We're set up as a cooperative. There's no reason at all why we don't see why we couldn't offer eventually certification so that people get a recognised qualification. And I suppose the group of the main protagonists sort of came about through the arts community sort of all knowing each other and kind of trust each other, and the arts community generally frustrated with dealing with certain organisations that just don't seem to get it. And so I think that's the essence of Feral, is that we won't be attached, for the inception anyway, we won't be attached to any specific organisation or space. We've got a cooperative structure to the actual running of the organisation, which means that we're open and organic. It will change as it goes along, so no one person will have too much power, if you like, or make all the decisions. So it seems like it's a very in tandem with, it's a very whole kind of organisation, but like I said, it's right at the beginning at the moment.
So where do you think, or how have you came to understand that there is a specific need for this? Is it more through conversations that you've had with people like yourselves, or is it through knowledge of what you know has been before?
I think it's one of those kind of serendipitous moments where, as I said, the main provider of the sort of visual arts education provision in the city was kind of downgrading. It seemed to be losing its the BA Honours Fine Arts. It was also very kind of corporate in its attitude to its staff over a number of years. This organisation basically stepped in when the university level provision moved to Lincoln and basically abandoned the Hull School of Art and Design. The whole college stepped in, and over kind of 4 or 5 years actually got accreditation to give BA Honours in Fine Art, full honours degree in Fine Art. And that was from foundation degrees, which are kind of odd course that is run. You do 2 years apparently, then you can do what's called the top up and get accredited for and a BA Honours qualification if you want to stay on. So it's almost like the whole college group have pressed the reset button and gone back about a decade now to 2007, and I think they first took over the Hull School of Art and Design, that provision. But certainly in terms of how it's come about, as I said earlier, being in Hull for a number of years, it's small enough to make those connections and build what my colleague here, Dom, said. You get that trust, and I think that's what it's about. And knowing that they had very good staff and tutors at the college, that they were going to lose 85% of them. I think basically there was just a culture of bullying and the staff not being able to feed up any concerns or any ideas, recommendations. So the morale was very low. And I think once this kind of ideology, the necessity to counter the budget deficit, they had a budget deficit of about £12 million, and they had to obviously make some staff cuts. This was a recommendation by the Further Education Inspector for Further Education Commissioner. So I think in a way it was kind of had to be enacted that way, but to actually then say, well, we'll offer voluntary redundancy, and then the staff basically taking that, because it was either take this, basically jump with a parachute or get pushed later without a parachute. So obviously there was a very good package encouraging a lot of the staff to take this. So that was of great concern, and as Dom and I know many of the staff there, you can't help but know the staff, because a lot of them are practicing artists anyway. So that's the network. That's how the kind of grassroots operates. So I think, in that respect, when there was discussion, certainly Dom and I had discussed a sort of idea of, shall we say, upping the ante of the kind of critical level of how artists talk to each other, and putting that as a kind of, not a counter but an addition to the City of Culture, where it was very kind of accessible and the experiential kind of side of it was important, whereas we thought, well, there needs to be a more in-depth critical side, and we were talking about doing discussions and talks and just, how do artists talk to each other and that kind of thing. And then, as I say, I think two of the staff who were taking the VR package at the Hull College, they wanted to, they'd got this idea of kind of stepping outside the corporate orthodoxy of education, and it's been a kind of well-established practice since the 1960s, well, if not before, around even in early 20th century. So it wasn't anything new, but certainly for Hull, it would be a kind of great step forward in terms of offering potential students something that is not predicated on them getting into debt and having to basically attain a certain level of education. It could be as flexible as potential students want to make it.
Regarding Ferrell, I mean, we've got a great bunch of students from all demographics, all age ranges. There's only a group of about 12 of them so far for this initial pilot scheme. We've kind of sourced them from the pool of City of Culture volunteers, so already they're people with a keen, enthusiastic approach to engaging with artwork, and a lot of them have had different levels of experience. So some people had never painted on a canvas before, some people actually had their own studios in their homes, and all the feedback we've had so far is just that they love it. They love the idea of being part of something which is feral. They love the idea of no big organisation having total say on what's going to happen. They see it as a space where their creativity can be revelled in, and for a lot of them that are very busy people with full-time jobs, families, it's their few hours a week where they go to engage totally in their practice, and they love the fact that they're being taught by practicing artists. They come in with homework that they've done and say, oh, look at this, what we did from... So it's a really great bunch. I mean, obviously, we've been incredibly lucky with that pool of, taking our first intake for the pilot from that particular pool of people. I believe Jane and Jackie had contacts with the City of Culture legacy company, Absolutely Cultures, and they helped us to tap into this database of volunteers, put the email out. But eventually, we obviously want to source potential students or participants from a much wider pool than that, and so they're things that we're looking into now. But for this initial phase, the feedback from the participants has been really good. They want to do more.
And so what are they able to pick up? So is it designed like a modular structure, or is it like class-based, or?
The pilot has just been designed in blocks, and the blocks focus on certain skills, introducing the students to certain skills or developing skills they've already got. So it's quite broad. It's almost like a compressed foundation course in many ways. Give them a taste of different bits and bobs, and we're all leading up to the sort of main launch in October, where we'll exhibit some of their work, and also launch the website and become a bit more high profile within the city, so that people know about the work we're doing and what we're trying to do. And we hope that that will be a good basis for then starting to get the next intake of students. But yeah, so they did a module of print with Andy Dakin and Lindy. They did a module of painting with myself and Anthony Houseman, and they're going to do the next module is with Paul and myself, based around, like Paul was saying earlier, that criticality, that idea of there being a lack of critical forums for critical discussion about cultural events in the city. So we'll be doing that with them for the next few weeks, and then their final module is getting them to think about how they'd curate work and how they're going to pull together the stuff they've been doing in order to then exhibit in the final week.
So you having it where it's structured with an intake every year, every academic year, or are you kind of breaking that? And
not sure yet. I mean, so we're writing Arts Council bids at the moment, and so the next project, the timescale for that will probably be from sort of January till July, I think it is. So eventually we might fall into sync with, but again, you know, if it's feral, we're free from those kind of strictures as well. So of the academic calendar, which I've always thought an academic year is nowhere near a year. Why do they call it a year?
Well, another Feral's working in partnership with ArtLink and Goodwin Centre as well for I think they're recruiting now for a course of socially engaged arts practice. So as the title suggests, it's going to be more working out in the community, following those, I suppose, archetypal practices. So that's been recruited through ArtLink and Goodwin Centre as well.
Yeah, I mean, we're in the process of doing that now. So part of the next part of the project is that we go and see such organisations. So, I mean, one in particular, it's not exactly the same, but there's the Terps Painting School based in London, set up by a painting magazine called Terps Banana, which is a really interesting model. That's kind of aimed at, they do a correspondence course, which is aimed at, they say, sort of mid-career artists who have got a bit of dispensable income and just want to engage with high quality practitioners in a kind of crit basis, and at the end of it exhibit the work that they've done. So that's one model that we're really interested in. There's quite a few different models.
Yeah, we should have had the list with us, because there's a whole list of
Spike Island in Bristol.
Yeah, and Oxford. Oxford. Yeah, but they've been established for a number of years. So as I said, it's not a new model. It's an established practice that goes back, as I said, to the early 20th century. And I think it allows that flexibility and allows that depth of investigation and practice that is not rigid, is not corporate, and as Dom says, can bring in partner organisations and other kind of established artists, practitioners as well, to give that variety, which is, I know visiting art lecture is an established form in all forms of education, arts education. So we'll be repeating that, but maybe in a different way. So I think, as Dom says, we've got this sort of immediate plan in place that's been enacted. We're going for Arts Council funding, but I think one of the main things as well is we have that feral nature, that flexibility, so we don't get drawn into that kind of funding trap where you are on a funding stream and you're reliant on that, and I think that's one of the going to be one of the important things. I mean, I suppose we're with us doing other things as artists and earning money as artists do in many ways, then we're not reliant on that one source of income, but it is going to be paid, and that's one of the recognised things as well, is that artists get paid. We're not teachers as such, we are artists who are kind of able to kind of deliver an education package. I've had education experience, some more than others, certainly